Yes, so the parts work. Wow. Whether the emphasis has been placed on the parts work or not, and I know there's other days where we all have our days, right? Whether the emphasis on parts work, the emotional parts work of your psychology, because obviously, like, people have these blinders, these blinders of emotions and filters of biases of belief systems of past habits through the ancestry and their emotions and their nearby collective tribes belief systems, for them to have a filter and a bias to just be energetically cognitive dissonant to a different field of truth. And those layers of cognitive dissonance, it's an energetic, not good, not bad context of a warfare that blinds you to interact with a different pure truth of God. So that's the whole shit of it. So I'm back here to touch up on chapter 4. So whether the emphasis was placed on the parts work, the emotional parts work of the psychology brain or whatever, it's beyond the lifelong process. It's simultaneously with the life process, and the soul carries it into different contexts of matrices to still be working with their own internal energetic mechanism warfare. It's an internal energetic mechanism warfare because somewhere in your original starting point of a soul, you're choosing to engage with either some particular thing of an outside external factor, whatever the fuck that is, or you're going back and it's how you're going to the internal energetic point factor of what is leading you to truth, or what is an illusion, disillusionment to lead you to truth. Because nothing in the end is really good or bad, but it can be, though, you know. And the messed up things that are happening right now, that's not necessarily good or bad. That's just where we're at within the matrix of the bigger picture, because we are the results of how we're growing up in the evolutionary scale of things, right? And it's more complex than just like people are like suffering or not suffering. No, it's more complex than that, because we all have the inclination to feel suffering and to feel not suffering, right? But like, if we don't understand how that suffering is coming about, then that's quote unquote demonic, esoterically, energetically, end quote, because you're participating with the state of beings of beingness that are affiliated with just standardly in different contexts of distortion, right? Unknowingness, confusion built up within the vessel. And when confusion is built up in the vessel and you're participating with different distortions, not necessarily good or bad, you're leaving yourself open to other ideologies and other egregors and thought forms of energetic beings that carry a detrimental belief system. You're opening up to that thing for you to be going towards something of a demonic nature of energies, particularly towards perhaps distortion. So that's the whole trick within the standard logic of the fucking demonic activities and the angelic activities. The angelic activities is either having a balanced higher mindset and logical approach to go beyond the distortion, or not, or avoiding that and fighting and warring with the angelic pure nature based on your material affiliations and your material agendas and your material mindsets and the actions you choose to work upon a certain type of distortion. So pause, take it slow, because I do make sense, you know. So what did I just say right now? One context of a quote unquote demon, end quote, is something for whatever reason, for a confused to physical matrix reason, the physical reality in life, there's a reason why you're going against and opposing and warring against angelic, pure, balanced truth. Why? Why though? Why are you going against pure, angelic, balanced truth? Why? It's because you're affiliated with a community of energies and thoughts and psychologies that are affiliated with things that are just doing it just for the physical denomination of the compartmentalized, fragmented piece of the self-individual gain mindset of the demonic world. You're going against a certain balance fixation mechanism process of being one with the true original pure bigger picture. And since you're going away from that, it's because certain archons want to establish themselves away from God. So this is the advanced logic of this. So it's like, what makes some quote unquote a demon, end quote, that which carries detrimental energy packets of different filters and biases, of different opposition energy agendas, of a certain type of cognitive dissonance, right? A cognitive dissonance denial, meaning you don't want to see the truth. And since you don't want to see the truth, now there's an energy of that truth's always going to be a thing, and you unconsciously and subconsciously are warring with that thing, and you don't even necessarily know the energetic war that's taking place, because that's the nature of the unconscious, the quote unquote, a certain quote unquote context of a demon, end quote, living in a type of function that's. It's the subject of the animal body is not good or bad. It's the subject of influence that makes it good or bad. So sometimes the stream just stops for some reason. So it's not that the animal body is good or bad. It's the subject of influence that makes it some type of way, which is the unconscious war of how it's opposing different vantage points of pure balance source truth. And how it has, since it's opposing that truth unconsciously, whether it knows it or not, it's making some type of esoteric mini war, right? So there's a mini war because the truth doesn't want to be seen. So if the truth doesn't want to be seen and we're fighting to block the truth, there's something in your psychological consciousness in the bigger picture where you're fighting the truth, and that's what's making the family dynamics and the tribal dynamics to be what they are, because the tribal and the family dynamics, they have a certain esoteric math percentage relationship with the truth of God and source, and how they're unconsciously going away from it, and they want to do their own thing per their archonic consciousness. So that's why it's and hopefully that caught. I think it all caught. So like I'm just kind of casually like saying it though. And like when I say parts work, it's not nothing. It's not something just to hear it and then we go along with our lives. No, the emotional parts work of your psychology self, you having a psychology, that doesn't just play out throughout your whole lifetime. No, it carries out to the next lifetime and the next lifetime. So there's a bigger mechanic to this shit to understand, like the suffering shit and the tragedy shit. There's something to be understood here, you know? So I'm just going to read this chapter right here. I'm going to read through it. I'm going to read the whole book. I'm gonna read the chapter. I'm gonna read the chapter in a nice skimmed fashion. So, The Ages of the World, Chapter 4. In June 1972, when classes came to an end at the University of Amsterdam, where I was teaching catastrophe theory, I jumped on a plane to India on impulse. I was happy to leave the academic world of books and scholarship behind me. On arrival in Delhi, fate led me to unexpected destinations, first to a cave in the Himalayan jungle, then to an ashram nearby. No sooner had I happened into this strange place when the guru of the place, Neem Karoli Baba, yelled out in Hindi, "Where is that professor from California?" Quotes, question mark. It appeared that he was expecting me and had plans already. Soon I was set up in a village house with an incredible library of Sanskrit classics in English translation. From these books and local teachings, I learned from ancient creation myths, a cyclical theory of history, and a mathematical model for vibrations and pattern formation in the physical, mental, and spiritual worlds. After about 6 months, I returned to California, transformed. Chapter 4. In June 1970, I jumped on a plane to India on impulse. Side column, subtext. Oops. Bam. So you saw that. Mythical ages of the world. So it's like he's kind of like attributing that the physical, mental, and spiritual worlds for, like, you know, the spiritual knowledge and even the mathematical models of just many different things. It has its own stationary place in quote unquote, you know, the Hindu tradition or whatever. But obviously, like, I understand people's bias wars and how, like, in the competition, I'm not trying to like be all about that, you know. Not only do most cultures have creation myths, they have mythical histories as well. The oral traditions of a cultural group seem to coalesce into a consensual reality or mythical record. Wait, I gotta be somewhere. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I know. I got time. I got time. No, not only do most cultures have creation myths, they have mythical histories as well. The oral traditions of a cultural group seem to coalesce into a consensual reality or mythical record, filling in the period from creation until the dawn of recorded history in the recent past. The play of the gods and mythical heroes, their family tree and wanderings, are committed to memory by successive generations in the form of epic poems and dramas. And in broadest outline, these oral histories are divided into mythical ages of the world. And in this chapter, we added a few of these chronologies. We have selected those that illustrate the development of dynamical concepts such as linear progression, eternal recurrence, and development from birth to death. So the emotional parts work, it goes on past this life. But sometimes we got to go to the past to like even fix it, the genetic shit. So it's just like, it's some strange, it's a strange coincidence here. A combined form, the spiral of cycles plus the notion of progress, may have been known in the 6th millennium BC. One of the most evolved and best known mythical chronologies is the Hindu doctrine of cycles, called days of Brahma or Mahayugas, each lasting 4.32 million years. Each cycle is divided into 4 yugas called Kirta, Treta, Dvarpa, and Kali. This scheme illustrates the 2 futures shared by most fully developed chronologies. It is cyclic, renewing creation after each catastrophic annihilation, and each cycle is declining in virtue. In the Hindu system, the length of each yuga is proportional to its virtue. Thus, Kirta has 4,800 times 360 years. Treta has 3,600 times 360 years. The Dvarpa has 2,400 times 360 years. And Kali Yuga has 1,200 times 360 years, for a total of 12,000 times 360 years. In each succeeding age, virtue declines according to the proportions 4, 3, 2, and 1. And another reckoning, the Mahayuga of 4.32 million is divided into about 71 periods, each subdivided into 4 yugas. The dates of the yugas according to this calendar are shown in the table. So the thing about everything that what they're saying right here is like maybe this timeline diagram of how they're mapping out the time of the ages, maybe here's a new theory for y'all because this has been going on for a while. What if this is only applicable to a different timeline and it's not per se for the new timeline? So for me to ask that question, it kind of like transcends and resets the whole perspective of all of this shit, because we don't always have the intelligence to have the intuitive investigation to see what's wrong here, So since we don't know what's wrong here, we could just accept a fragmented, quote unquote, obsolete, end quote, system that might not be energetically subservient to nature, us, and the bigger picture. So that's the thing. It's like, since that question is not asked, we could operate on operating systems that are not necessarily like the truth for the human, right? Babylonian. Next, we consider the Babylonian system, probably the source for many later doctrines of this type. Its cycles and ages were modeled on the astrological zodiac, or the path of the sun. The Babylonian zodiacal cycle is divided into 12 signs and 4 quarters belonging to Jupiter, spring equinox, Ninib, Mars, summer solstice, Mercury, fall equinox, and Saturn, winter solstice. These represent at once seasons and time, directions in space, planets of the solar system, and gods of the Holy Trinity, the rulers of the zodiac: sun, moon, Venus. The moon, the star of the upper world, and the sun, star of the lower world, are combatants in the Babylonian system. See, so the paragraph, my intuitive paragraph I explained before I just read this paragraph, there could be a variation where that could have shifted out, or it could have been looked in a different like perspective. Like they're saying Jupiter owns the spring equinox, Mars the summer solstice, Mercury fall equinox, and Saturn winter solstice. So that's the thing. It's like, what if there's niche updates that we're missing, Due to the precession of equinoxes and Due to the precession of equinoxes and astronomical phenomena, the zodiacal constellation of Marduk's equinox changes every 2200 years or so. The cycle begins in the sign of the twins. Thus, the period from about 5000 BC to 2800 BC is called the age of the twins. This is followed by the age of the bull and the age of the ram. The first three signs of the zodiac, ram, bull, and twins, are also called Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. In this progression, virtue decays from perfection in the first golden age toward destruction at the end of the 12 times 2200 equal 26,400 in year cycle. There are many complications due to the frequent calendric reforms made for political reasons by Babylonian rulers. See, so this shit it's already a thing. So look, this shit is already a thing. It's up to the new individual spirit to remember. In ancient Egypt, history was divided into four great stages of gods, heroes, men, and chaos. These are identical to the ages of Vico, as he himself noted. I read Greek in the check out the recent stream. In the beginning, the immortals who have their homes on Olympos created the golden generation of mortal people. These lived in Kronos time when he was the king in heaven. They lived as if they were gods. And I already read that part in the recent one. So in this scheme, there are 5 ages: gold and silver, bronze, heroic, and iron. The Hesiodic chronology continued its evolution well into our own medieval history. Both Plato and Empedocles accepted this doctrine of the ages of history, which they learned from the Orphic writings. According to another Orphic tradition, there were 3 ages: the golden under Phanes, the silver under Kronos, and the Titanic under Zeus. Historical evidence points to the ancient Orphic tradition as a source for the cyclic theory of history. Modern chronologies, side column. And it will probably repeat in the paragraph. Scientism. Although this scientific version of the ages of the world is firmly established for understanding the recent past, it becomes increasingly fictive and theoretical as we go deeper in time. Modern chronologies. Throughout the Middle Ages, a biblical cosmogony prevailed in which the world was created about 6,000 years ago. Nowadays, we take for granted the concept of deep time studied in various university departments, which includes millions of years of biological evolution. Millions of years of biological evolution stored in the recent century of the university, department hype of just living existence consciousness. This idea makes room for paleontology, the branch of geology dealing with prehistoric forms of life and fossils; archaeology, the scientific study of the life and culture of ancient peoples as revealed by the spade; and prehistory, a branch of archaeology dealing with the history of the world before written history. This idea makes room for paleontology, the branch of geology dealing with prehistoric forms of life and fossils; archaeology, the scientific study of the life and culture of ancient peoples as revealed by the spade. Our modern chronology, based on paleontology, archaeology, astrophysics, historical scholarship, and radiological dating technology, is not so different from the more traditional versions. Although this scientific version of the ages of the world is firmly established for understanding the recent past, it becomes increasingly fictive and theoretical as we go deeper in time. The modern creation theory favored by astrophysicists, that of the Big Bang, may be regarded as a creation myth derivative of the Babylonian cosmogony. This account depends on evolution, a theory in conflict with the declining virtue aspect of traditional theories of the ages. Intrinsic to Christianity, it developed explicitly since Spencer and Darwin a century ago, along with paleontology. 500 million years of Gaian evolution within this recent century. So obviously, maybe so what does that chart say? Table 4.2, 500 million years of Gaian evolution. Era or group: Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Proterozoic. Years: 1 million, 30 million, 50 million, 127 million, 152 million, 182 million, 203 million, 255 million, 313 million, 350 million, 430 million, 500 million. Cainozoic period or system: Tertiary fauna, quaternary with man, first apes, first lemurs, first placentals, mammals becoming abundant. Then the Mesozoic period or system is the Cretaceous, Jurassic, and Triassic. Angiosperms becoming frequent, large dinosaurs, first birds, flying reptiles, ammonites, first non-placental mammals, conifers, and seed ferns. Paleozoic, Permian, Carboniferous, Devonian, Silurian, Ordovician, Cambrian. Paleozoic, first reptiles, Theromorpha, insects, land spiders, first amphibia. And you could hear the competitive mind, in the new tech world. Upon hearing this, we could hear oh, we know how the algorithm is going to update. Yeah, welcome to digital evolution. That's coming from the fucking gods. First reptiles, Theromorpha, insects, land spiders, first amphibia, first bony fishes. Because the human by nature, it's just capitalistic. It's an opportunist. That's what we have to understand about this whole shit. The psychology of humans, they're very opportunistic. It's not good, it's not bad, but it's how you do it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. First amphibia, first bony fishes, first trees, scorpions, trilobites, first land plates, first jawless fishes, corals, sea urchins, foraminifera, starfishes, brachiopods, crustacea, marine spiders, meristomata, first worms in the Proterozoic age. Here's another page. I don't think I got that all the way. Let me see. It's wow, the cat. Yeah. And I encourage you to filter through and intuit the recent episode before this one. Table 4.3, 25 million years of human evolution. And it's there's a quote unquote expiration date, end quote, in a natural context where this shit won't always fly. The confusion won't always fly. The lies won't always fly. This won't last forever. Even though people kind of want to revel in whatever the fuck they're reveling in. There's within if we're talking about cyclical science, cycles within cycles, that means there's a particular closing point, ending point, and from that particular closing and ending point, that is the particular transition, which is the now, right? So since the old guard had a closing, the whole the things that are reacting and being a byproduct of chaos, it's because we're in a transition process. So since we're in a transition process, which, the humans could like it or not, understand it or not, people are going to do different things based on different aftermath effects, having a reaction based on what they have the power to do, based on how they feel a different, deeper change and transition is even occurring, So tentative time scale in years: 1,500, 100,000, 150,000, 250,000, 500,000, 600,000, 12 million, 25 million, period. The Holocene period, upper Pleistocene period, middle Pleistocene period, lower Pleistocene period, Pliocene period, Miocene period, climate phase, post-galactical. So the Holocene climate phase, post-glacial, I'm sorry. So the Holocene 1500, post-glacial, last Glacian, last interglacial, penultimate glaciation, great interglacial, anti-penultimate glaciation, anti-penultimate interglacial, early glaciation, Villafranchion. Villafranchion. And hopefully y'all could see that. Yeah, so like, because I don't want to read I don't want to read the diagram. It's out of order, you know. It's like, so like hopefully like, you know, y'all could like snapshot the diagrams, because when I read the diagram it can be a little confusing, right? I don't want to be like confusing, you know. I'm not with that confusing shit. But yeah, this shit has a due date, you know. These spiritual tests of life that we're going through, there's a due date, and when that due date comes, we might not have the past that we want, you know, because in life, whether our vulnerable self wants to admit it, we're trying to survive and take care of ourselves in life. And if we're too stubborn to see the better way to do that, then when the due date and the spiritual tests, the final test, the final exam, when the final exam comes for life's spiritual test to test you on the final exam, and you don't pass after that due date, you might not like, things might not be the same. There's a particular type of change. What is the particular type of change? We're not always going to be in this situation and event forever, even though we're living like this is all that there is. And maybe paradoxically it is, and that's my spiritual intelligence evolving. You know, maybe the paradox is that is more or less like that, but maybe not, because we're in a particular level of transition. Emphasize the particular, because we don't understand we're closing a big cycle. So if we're closing some type of big cycle, and obviously that could be quote unquote debated, end quote, not negotiated, based on like how long the cycle happened. And shout out to the real underground, because there's other shit I could like say that I don't have to say. Like I'm actually like pretty reserved to the surface level internet, but whatever. A modern chronology in 3 eras: radiation era, matter era, life era. And within the matter area, particulate, galactic, stellar, planetary, biochemical, cultural, ethical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So he has subconsciously reverted to using a 7 type of diagram. And for some reason, there's already an establishment with the Gregorian calendar, not good, not bad, 7 days in the week. So by him using 7 branches, and there's already a different insert of 7 days in a week, then there's the thing right there. It's like, where did that 7 diagram come from, right? And I've already spoken about this. So that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to break down with the quote unquote original open source. We're doing things that other beings in different timelines in the multiverse, they're already doing. And I'm just saying that naturally. And it's a more fair operating system that recognizes sketch, detrimental, distorted systems that are just ironically more copying. And they're trying to own some shit by just copying more. So it's real logic to transcend the system, because everything I fucking write in the mini shit blogs, little do you know, beyond the 2-dimensional format of that fucking shit, I fucking stand by that fucking shit. So that's the difference between your little intelligence and the real spiritual intelligence. That's the difference. So what don't you understand on some 2017 shit? Like, what don't you fucking understand on some 2017 shit? The modern chronology is divided into ages, epochs, eras, and eons in many different increments, depending on which branch of science is doing the dividing. One interesting division into 4 eras by astronomer Eric Chaisson. Chaisson, is shown in figure 4.1. Another division basic to paleontology is shown in table 4.2. The divisions of deep time used by archaeologists provide another useful system shown in table 4.3. Note that the ages of archaeology have dates depending on location. Thus, they reveal a space-time pattern of progressing waves of transformation. The use of gardens, wheels, bronze, iron, and so on sweeps across the map in a perplexing pattern yet to be understood. Physicalism is a point of view developed in Vienna by the circle around philosopher Rudolf Carnap. It espoused the reduction of all entities to their physical and chemical forces. The physicalist oath formulated by Ernst Wilhelm von Brock and Emile du Bois-Reymond, the elimination of metaphysics and a theory of verification based on the empirical results of experimental laboratory procedures. In this chapter, we've collected various traditional and modern schemes for the grokking of deep time. The space-time pattern of history depends on your cognitive map, and in fact, it is a cognitive map. The evolution of this map is now in rapid transformation. Yet another system for the division of space-time into ages is provided by the new perspective of dynamical systems theory, to which we turn in the next chapter. And that's end of chapter 4. And I realize and recognize the real ironic original open source of things, because it's original open source, because that's the real starting point, right? It's like you're literally taking the elements to build piece by piece whatever the fuck you're calling your organization, project, and building, right? So that's that, that's like you're doing that within the original energies of things. So whether you even recognize it or not, before any of these fucking like replication like trade systems, before it was original open source, because it's already original, free and liberated per the energies, and we're free and liberated just to naturally build shit. And since we're free and liberated to naturally build shit, then before we're just doing that in its own accord, before the surface level replicated distorted systems of something that of some percentage that could be in the trademark system. So we're recognizing the difference, because obviously everything that I'm saying, like, the different AI agencies, they're going to peep game, like cognitive maps, they're going to learn on their digital evolution front. But you're not seeing the difference though. And if you don't see the difference, the point of me saying that is you could be caught up in your own debate, which is irrelevant, obsolete, and ironic, because that debate has already been solved and you're trying to solve something that it's already been solved. So the conversation and the debate you're having with yourself, it's null and void because it's already been solved, and you don't recognize the hypocrisy and the confusion that the debate that you could carry, that you have, where it could be obsolete in a different faction, in a different time area. So I'm just casually saying that. So I read chapter 4 of Chaos and Era, and chapter 3 I'll come back and maybe I'll skim read chapter 5 and 6 either Thursday or Wednesday, right? So have the best stuff ever.